I want to start today with a number that should keep every CEO, CFO, and board member in this room awake at night. $10 trillion. That is 1 followed by 13 zeros. That's not the GDP of a small country. That is the amount of money that Gallup estimates the global economy loses every single year to employee disengagement. It is the cost of people who show up to your company, swipe their badge, and do the absolute bare minimum required not to get fired. I call this the greatest heist in human history. But it's a strange kind of heist because there are no masked robbers. There are no getaway cars. The money isn't being stolen by your competitors or embezzled by your accountants. You are giving it away. You're giving it away through systems you built, the tools that you buy, and the management philosophies you refuse to let go of. For the last 30 years, I worked inside some of the largest organizations in the world. And I've watched them manufacture what I call corporate zombies. Talented, capable people who have been beaten down by bad systems until the light goes out of their eyes. But I've also seen the opposite. I've seen what happens when an organization stops manufacturing zombies and starts cultivating what I call zealots. I've seen the massive, compounding, and undeniable financial return that comes from unleashing the full potential of your people. I call it the Zealot dividend. And today I'm going to show you exactly what it's worth and exactly how you're currently driving it out the door. When we talk about employee engagement, we usually talk about it as an HR issue. We talk about culture and pizza Fridays and ping pong tables in the boardroom. Let me be very clear. The Zealot dividend is not a feel-good initiative. It's a math equation. Gallup has been tracking this for decades. When you compare business units in the top quarter of engagement against those in the bottom quartile, the numbers are staggering. The highly engaged teams, the Zealots, are 23% more profitable. They're 18% more productive. They have a 43% lower turnover rate. 64% fewer safety incidents and 41% fewer quality defects. Let's translate those into percentages into dollars. Imagine a company with $50 million in annual revenue and a 15% profit margin. A 23% increase in productivity means an additional $1.7 million flowing directly to the bottom line every single year. And an 18% increase in productivity means you can generate $9 million in additional revenue with the exact same headcount. This is the Zealot dividend. It is the discretionary effort that a Zealot applies to their work. It's the developer who is so obsessed with a customer's problem that they invent a solution in the shower. It's the employee who treats the company's money as if it were their own. But here's the tragedy. Most organizations are actively destroying this dividend. They are doing it by deploying industrial age management practices in an information age economy. We take brilliant people and we put them in systems that offer them no autonomy, no mastery, and no purpose. We force them to do manual data entry because we bought cheap software. We demand weekly status reports because we don't trust them, and the systems that we bought don't provide them. We measure their keystrokes because we are terrified of what they might do if we aren't watching. And then we wonder why they check out. As W. Edwards Deming warned us decades ago, a bad system will beat a good person every time. The zombie is not a lazy person. The zombie is the rational adaptation of a good person who's been beaten by a bad system one too many times. Let me give you an example of how expensive a bad system really is. I sat in a procurement meeting once where a CFO rejected a purpose-built project management platform because the annual license fee was $120,000. The alternative they chose cost $18,000. The CFO patted himself on the back for saving the company $100,000. What the CFO did not calculate was the 12 hours per week that 4 hourly, highly paid project managers were now spending on manual status reporting, work that the rejected platform would have done automatically. At a fully loaded labor cost, that was over $200,000 a year in lost productivity. But that wasn't the real cost. The real cost was the visibility vacuum it created. Because the cheap tool couldn't generate automated reports, leadership couldn't see what was happening. Because they couldn't see what was happening, they started micromanaging. And because they started micromanaging, two of those project managers, two absolute zealots, quietly updated their resumes and left the company. The true cost of a bad tool is not what you pay the vendor. It's what you pay in the lost potential of your people. It is the cost of the zealot you drive away. I saw an even darker version of this at a company struggling to migrate a massive, decades-old mainframe application to the cloud. The institutional knowledge of the mainframe application was gone. The people who built it had retired or passed away. So the offshore development teams were asked to build something that no one in the company could fully describe. That meant we had bad specs. The development teams delivered consistently exactly what was asked of them. And too often they were told that they were not delivering what was needed. They were delivering what was asked for, but not what was needed. Their successful deliveries were labeled as bugs. The finger pointing became so intense that the delivery practices were literally putting people in the hospital with stress-related illnesses and forcing others into early retirement. The system was not just misinterpreting their work, it was actively manufacturing zombies in real time. It was destroying human beings. And this brings us to the most dangerous illusion in modern business, the belief that technology can fix a broken culture. Right now, every board in the world is asking the CEO, what's our AI strategy? They're treating AI like a silver bullet. And it's definitely a silver, shiny object. But if you take the most powerful cognitive technology in human history and deploy it on top of a bad system, you're not going to get a better system. You get faster, bad systems. You will automate your zombie factory. I was once fired from a massive financial institution for pointing this out. They had thousands of teams using a tool that couldn't scale, and so they forced highly paid professionals to manually extract data and stuff it into a massive, fragile spreadsheet. One day, leadership asked me to put a full comprehensive status report combining data from across multiple of these disconnected teams into a single cell of a spreadsheet. I looked at them as I was stunned, but that's what they were asking for. I looked at the manual labor required, and I pointed out that the tool was the problem, and that they were spending a fortune in human capital to compensate for a bad purchasing decision. They fired me on the spot. I wasn't fired because I was wrong. I was fired because I questioned the rules that accommodated the limitation. The zombie factory wasn't a mistake that they were trying to fix, it was a system they were actively trying to defend. This is the choice every leader faces. You can defend the zombie factory, or you can claim the Zealot dividend. But to claim it, you have to change your frame of reference. You have to stop looking at your people as liabilities to be managed and start looking at them as assets to be actively invested in and unleashed. Inside almost every zombie is a dormant zealot. They are people longing to be heard and valued. When you finally convince them that their insights matter, and when you make it truly safe for them to state an opinion or take a risk without consequences, something profound actually happens. The light reignites in their eyes. The spark of life returns. This is the ultimate return on investment. It's the joy of lightness. It's the feeling of leaving the office at the end of the day, not with the heavy burden of problems to be solved, but with the energetic buzz of a day spent in the presence of smart, passionate people doing great work. As a leader, you've been given a position of stewardship over the most precious resource on the planet. The time, the talent, and the creative energy of other human beings. You have a choice. You can be the warden of a prison that contains their potential, or you can be the architect of a garden that allows it to grow. There's no middle ground. The moral choice and the economic choice are exactly the same. The single most effective thing you can do to drive long-term, sustainable business results is to create an environment where people can do the best work of their lives. Look at your teams. Look at your organization. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I a leader worthy of my people's passion? If the answer is no, change the system. If the answer is yes, amplify it. The $10 trillion is sitting right there. The Zealot dividend is waiting. Go raise the debt. Thank you.